So we are the IAMB Instant Messengers. Welcome. You've got world-class support. So this is the list of all the working group members. So you can see up at the top are all the people from IAMB, but this group also worked with people in other areas, including Rachel Stutter, who's here, from the Executive Office, Jordan Bainey from MSB, Barbara from ITAC, Marianne from Consolidated Operations Acquisition Center, and Kathy and Terry, from AMB. So the focus of our working group was goal 1, which was to strengthen communication between administrative and scientific staff. And the objective focus was 1.2, to evaluate existing and develop new communication strategies with the DIR community and other NHLBI divisions to expand knowledge sharing and increase transparency.
In order to strengthen communication, we first had to identify the problems and areas that needed improvement. We focused on 4 areas. Space and facilities have problems communicating mass notifications, and their customers are often unaware of their point of contacts. There is a concern with communicating travel updates, policies, and procedures. When these topics were communicated, they were often unclear, complicated, and not timely. For the IAMB annual staff survey, validation on current methods and increasing participation was needed. Under NIH procurement deadlines, problems existed when communicating policy updates and SOP changes. To begin correcting these issues, we reached out to the DIR in the form of a survey to help validate our concerns.
In order to verify and address the issues that we associated, the problems that we found with each of those 4 main areas, we sent out a survey to the entire DIR through SurveyMonkey. We got 110 responses, which is quite good in terms of addressing all of the 4 areas that we wanted to look into. And so these are just a couple samples of the questions that were asked and the responses, and then also show a few of the comments that we got back. So it was both we got comments, qualitative and quantitative data, in terms of the data we were able to receive. So for example, this was one addressing the IAMB annual survey, and you can see that of the respondents, a majority said, do you take the survey? Majority said yes, but there's still quite a bit left that we can try and figure out, well, why aren't they taking that survey? And we have many other questions that are addressed to this particular problem, and so that will be something that we can focus on in terms of task maintenance. But this is just an area where you can say, well, why is there some that aren't taking the survey? And we can kind of figure out a way to address that. The next area was about procurement deadlines. And one of the questions was just, are you aware that we send this message out? And you can see an overwhelming majority are aware that we send out the message. So that's not really one of the main concerns with the communication strategy. So maybe it's just figuring out the content and information that we send out that is most useful to those that receive the message. The next is about space and facilities management. And so one of the questions was, do you know who your point of contact is? And in this particular case, you can see, many do know who their point of contact is. Many didn't answer the question as well, mainly because maybe they just have no reason to necessarily know who the contact is because they have no interaction. And then, but you can still see there's a number that still don't know who their point of contact is. They answer that with no. And so that's just an area that Amy will talk about a little bit later in the presentation. The next item was about travel, the general administration section's favorite topic. And so this was actually focused on where do you go for resources. And you can see a lot of them look into contacting their HPOC, which is your help point of contact for, in this particular case, for travel. And so you can see a lot of them go to their HPOC with questions, but there are also a lot of other resources that they could maybe go to first. And maybe it's they don't know that they're there, maybe it's improving our resources that are available or communicating that out better. And so that's just one area that we can focus on. And again, these are just sample questions, but it kind of outlines just the general information that we got back. And then the other element is just some of the comments we received as well, which will help kind of form the communication strategies and the task maintenance moving forward. So this is just a couple of the comments. I won't read them, but just to kind of make you aware in terms of the IAMB survey or travel, the idea of being anonymous may help people take the survey or provide feedback and those types of things. Maybe there's other ways to get that information. So that's just how the survey was done and sort of the information that we got.
Communication solutions for travel has not changed since the mid-July summer retreat, and was comprised mostly based on email template notifications that was sent via listservs. The Travel Hub information will be hosted on SharePoint and will provide a central location for all the information to be viewed based on guidelines, archives, webinars, or to help individuals who are on travel. More specifically, the site will include up-to-date listservs, policies, templates, and procedures that will help the users that are on travel have peace of mind. Additional information sessions on PIs and support staff meetings will be provided to all users on the site. In regards to space management, will be informed the communications process through which we follow through the development of the strategic work group. Such things as standard email templates with notifications. Emails will be utilized, recently developed by Space Facilities Management logos. Standard templates for project sites, like on contact sheets, like people are at the site, people don't know where to contact, will be able to see notifications to contact individuals in their areas. Also, flyers will be advertised through Space and Facility, and that's currently in progress. These items will help improve the consistency and coherency of communications throughout NHLBI, as branding and standard templates, overall the development recognition for customers so that they can have a greater understanding of where they should be directed for the space regulations and questions and concerns. Solutions are not continued, are still continuing to be streamlined through NIH, to NHLBI, to OA, and IAMB, to DIR. These are some of the items that we're still kind of in the process of solutions. Regarding solutions of IAMB staff survey, at year's end, we reviewed and validated the current process and gaining feedback from the DIR staff regarding IAMB's performance throughout the year, and results are very positive. Individuals appreciate being able to express their concerns without the surveys being given, that are given options by rating various activities, events, and suggestions without confrontation. The creation of anonymous surveys enables users to provide feedback unconditionally and have peace of mind through IAMB.
Okay, so one of our main deliverables for this strategic work group is a communications resource guide. And the main idea is that the guide is set up in a way that encourages you guys to think mindfully about how you communicate and what you communicate to your respective audiences. The resource guide also outlines specific benefits that, that you'll reap once you think about what you're communicating to your audiences. The crux of the communication plan lies in the communications plan brief, which Marianne and our group, Barbara, worked with us to help create. It offers a template when crafting communications to your specific target audience. It can be used for either small project or larger scope projects. The brief is broken down into 8 components. We spoke briefly about them in our last all-hands meeting. And they offer a roadmap to give you ideas of what to consider when you're crafting a communication plan. The specific areas that you are asked to define is the project background, the objectives of your communication plan, who are your target audiences? Do you have one primary audience, or do you have secondary audiences as well to consider? Are there any message strategies that you want to employ? Branding options, which we will talk about a little later. Define that key takeaway message. What do you want to leave your audience with? And then communication channels, because as we all know, it's important how you communicate something, not just what you communicate. But the overall purpose in creating this communication guide is to get you to think about what's appropriate to communicate, and that you incorporate all of these items in your communications with other audiences.
So branding is a critical component of creating a communications plan, especially if the communications plan is going to take place over a long period of time. An effective brand will help promote recognition of a specific group or product, and it can help focus communication strategies by creating a standard look and feel across the board. Branding is the key to creating a consistent image so that customers know what to expect from IAMB. When customers are familiar with our brand, it's easier to develop a sense of trust and dependability. One could say that, in essence, branding puts a face to the name. As a part of the communications plan for space and facilities management, I developed a template header for mass email notifications sent from the space and facilities team. And I've modified the header to accommodate each of the IAMB sections, so feel free to check with your section chief to decide if you want to use these for mass notifications moving forward. So it's important to note that the design of the header can be utilized across various platforms, including both digital and physical postings. As seen in this image, a customer could receive an email from my team notifying them of a project or an upcoming outage taking place in their vicinity. And the standard logo would quickly help the customer assess who is sending the information and create a sense of accountability for our group. Another platform where we plan to utilize the header is on project sites. After the results from the survey developed by our communications team were returned, I discussed the results with my section, and we decided that due to some of the responses, it would be effective to post a sheet of contact information on job sites in case problems or questions arose from contractors or customers. Since the design is consistent with the header shown in the email, customers would have a better understanding of who is coordinating the work, and this would imply an effective communication strategy via branding.
And so taking all of that into consideration, I just wanted to highlight a few of the benefits of creating a communications plan for any of your topics. They increase workplace efficiencies, encourage knowledge sharing, shared accountabilities, they improve your working relationships with your customers, and reduce potentials for conflict when everyone understands what you're communicating and their role in that communication. And so with that, we'd like to open up to Q&A with respect to the communications plans that we created over the year, and then also the resource guide or any other questions that you may have for us. Yeah, we can upload that onto the OBC SharePoint site, which is accessible by everyone in IAMB. I'll send out a notification when that is available. Chris? And that was a comment that we received as, we should ask which branch they're in, whether or not they're administrative, things like that.
The survey was a good tool because once you were anonymous, you didn't have any pressure built on you, so that you could speak freely or give your ideas and not have anyone say, oh, you're from this branch and for this division. Perhaps in the future, we probably send it to a specific audience and get that information directed back and probably break it down.
So in our task maintenance, we've included that that'll be section specific. So however the section chief envisions using those announcements in their emails, things like that, we're going to leave it up to the section chief. And then if a staff member would like to use that, then they would solicit, approval from their section chief moving forward. But as you can see, Amy explicitly listed out for their section how they plan to use theirs, and then she just went ahead and made section header for each of us. So Usman was asking if we collaborated or spoke with ITAC about using the header. I think you'll recall they have, or used to have a header with an IT announcement if a certain system was going to be affected or out of service. And the answer is no, we did not solicit their input on how headers worked for them. We actually just assumed everything was okay because, they got our attention when we saw the header, so we kind of wanted to replicate that with our sections, but that is good feedback moving forward to solicit their input.